is an unrehearsed program. The views expressed are those of the guests and not necessarily those of the producer. Today's topic:
Milosvic Lessons for Other Countries in Passion for Truth award-winning program.
Welcome to another edition of Passion for Truth. The former Yugoslav leader Slobodan Milosvic died in his cell in the 5th year of his trial as a war criminal. Did he await justice? Perhaps a verdict was denied, but was justice denied too? And does Milosevic's death hold lessons for other countries? Those are the questions we are going to ask our panelists next. Dr. Dennis Warner, representative of Pax Christi in 1999, and Dr. Warner worked with the United Nations Refugee Agency on refugee problems arising from the war in Kosovo. Retired Ambassador Jonathan Dean, advisor on international security issues, also President Union of Concerned Scientists. Sardar Ganga Singh Dhillon, a researcher and a negotiator on critical issues affecting India and Pakistan. Dr. Joseph Annunziata, with expertise on international affairs. As a former professor, Dr. Annunziata was an advisor to the Assistant Secretary of Defense on international issues, also a senior staff member. He was a senior staff member at the White House. Tim Ferriss, a news commentator and a legal analyst. Welcome you all. Starting with you, Dennis, the trial proceeded too slowly and the tribunal is accountable. Would you say that?
Well, the tribunal is accountable for its own work, and I think they did a job. It's unfortunate that a verdict cannot be passed because the defendant is no longer alive. But they did their job. One can criticize the process, and there are many issues about it that can be brought up. But they certainly brought to life many of the problems that Milosevic and his regime caused. And to think that Milosevic was not punished, well, he was in prison for 5 years. He was in the dock while offenses and charges were read against him. And so that itself is useful because the international community can see what has happened.
Ambassador Dean, as Dr. Warner points out, he died under indictment. He had a long list of crimes, and on record, does this reflect justice?
It would have been better to make a more rapid process against him. And I think that's the lesson which we gained from this particular incident. That is that courts and prosecutors in future will have to focus on specific incidents or a series of incidents rather than trying to build a case from the behavior of the accused right from the beginning to the end. But anyhow, great progress has been made in this field. We've got the court on Rwanda, which has not been very rapid in its operations, but has had several guilty verdicts and important ones. And there are 10 or 12 other former Yugoslavs who have been declared guilty by the court in The Hague. And Saddam Hussein is now on trial. This is a great forward movement for international law and a great warning to tyrants in the future.
The leader of the Bosnian Serbs, Sardar Dhillon, who conducted the ethnic cleansing and the general behind it, they are still at large, and as long as they are unpunished, they will continue to block the progress of the Balkans. Does that leave something very unfinished here?
It's very true. The only thing which has been accomplished up till now is to establish a precedent. Number two, it does establish a fear in the hearts and mind of the people in the different countries and the leaders that they may refrain from doing such acts because the world is not ready to accept them any further. However, in my opinion, although it's a good precedent which has been established, but the system of the international court has to be refined. It should not have taken years and years in this case till the man died in the custody of that court. They should have, as the ambassador mentioned, the system would have been so efficient that it should have been done much faster than the time it took.
But Joe, does this hold lessons for other countries now? Saddam Hussein is facing a trial in his own country, and the list of indictments, the crimes has been cut short really to simplify, to make sure the prosecutors can administer it quickly. Is that a lesson from Milosevic's death?
It depends on what you consider the purpose of these courts to be, these international courts. I personally don't think that the purpose of these courts is to quickly punish somebody who has committed crimes. Punishment does not bring reconciliation and a peaceful and normal society. You can get rid of Saddam Hussein and somebody else might come in. The situation can be just as bad or worse. So I think the very fact that some of these trials have been dragged out could be a good thing, because it continues to air out all of the crimes, all of the details of what was committed, and that's the lesson that the whole world needs to know about. So many of these things have been done in secret. The commission that was established in South Africa, and Archbishop Tutu was part of that, was called the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. It was not called justice. So justice puts an emphasis on punishment and putting someone to death. But I think if you think of the objective as what is the truth, that's what we want to come out, and it's okay if that takes months or years.
If I can just give a footnote to what Joe has said, I very much agree with him. I can see three major situations here, and it depends on what you want to do with these trials. If the first is punishment, then you want to do it quickly, let the national government do it with whatever laws they have. If you're looking for revealing the facts and the background to why this happened, then you need a more exhaustive, comprehensive type of process. And this probably should be done by an international court somewhere outside of the country, so that the results are very legitimate. And in the third case, if you're looking for deterrence in the future, then you probably need some kind of a mix of a national and international court to look at the issues. But it really depends, as Joe pointed out, on what is the purpose of the trial.
Tim, where are you coming on?
I do wonder about a lot of this. If Milosevic is a criminal, then isn't Karadzic a criminal?
Sure. He is.
So what's going on? So what's going on there? Why are we so selective?
Fear of casualties. I mean, that's the direct reason.
Where does it end? How far do you go?
Well, they should have, but I mean, various NATO troops have failed to close in on him, and the reason is that they fear a reaction, an armed reaction that they don't think they're capable of dealing with, but I think they would be, but still.
Sometimes, if this is what needs to be done, then maybe you have to take the casualties.
Sure.
I hate to say that, but you do what you have to do.
Does Milosevic was the first head of a state in history to face an international court for war crimes. But does his death, Joe, inspire other countries from Iraq to India to redouble efforts to capture the war criminals quickly?
I don't. I think, you know, the public very often does not know what's going on with their government. I would think that a lot of people in Iraq, some did know what Saddam Hussein was doing, others did not.